Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this young man hails from the Houston, Texas area. He's been in the top 100 companies in the United States. Matter of fact, he did so well that he broke sell records, he broke so many sell records. He said, why am I doing it for them? Let me go do it for myself. Opened his own company, broke some sales records, shot up through the ranks real fast in the listing of the Who to Who. He hails from Houston, Texas, been married to the same beautiful woman, got 3 beautiful children. He lives in, like I said, Houston. He's also a mentor to a lot of folks, and he's also a dear friend of mine. Without further ado, the great Mr. Dwight Williams. Let's get him on here.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas. How you doing this morning?
I am so blessed, my friend. Oh my God, we're matching again, man. Like mine.
Yes, you are blessed. I give it to you. You are blessed beyond measure. Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here, hailing from Houston, Texas. Excited to be on this call, Mr. Thomas. I'm gonna tell you this every time I get on here. Thank you, sir. Really, thank you. It is a privilege to be asked. I mean, I say this every single time. You got a bunch of heavy hitters on here. You know you can use any of them and they could knock this thing out the park. But and so for you to pick me, I just want to say thank you, and I really appreciate it, sir. You're doing an incredible job. I hope everybody realizes what you're doing. But let's talk today. I try to always think about something a little catchy. I entitled today, "Let's Go Crazy." Prince had a song, it said, "Let's go crazy." So I thought about, let's go crazy. You'll get why I'm saying that later on. It's been an eventful week. It's been an eventful year. Some people will tell you that they're having the best year of their lives. Some will tell you that they're having the worst year of their lives. And, it's all in perspective. I'm not sure that there is a such thing as worst or best. I think we create the world around us by how our perception, and our perception often is a product of what we believe. And so, and we see things a certain way based on our thoughts and the information that we have. And so, and I think some people will see the same situation. I'll give you a perfect example. And I say this all the time, that the suffering and the pain that we've experienced through the pandemic is terrible, and our hearts go out for all of the loss. But the truth be told, my favorite book says all things work together for my good if I love him and are called according to his purpose. So somehow the pandemic even has to be, now the choice I have to make is to either believe that or not to believe it. And I choose to believe it. And so what it causes a person to do that believes that is to continue to look for the opportunity that God has placed there in that situation. It's all about how I perceive the situation that I find myself in. And I opened up talking about that because I wanted to tell a story that I've recently heard about the 2008 market crash. And it caught me. This story really captivated me. And it was about a group of guys that work for a company. And you've heard this story. And the company laid off guys, and so these were C-suite guys. These were execs. They weren't just workers. These guys were executives. They had golf memberships and had big homes, and they had Porsches, and they got laid off. And not only did they get laid off, but they were laid off and could not find work. And they went through the humbling experience of having to go into a job agency looking for a job after having this, to the point where the story entailed one of the gentlemen, the company tried, he had a connection as an executive. So one of the founders of the company got fired as well, but he had stock. And because he had stock, he wasn't affected, but he was friends with a guy that he was protecting that wasn't employed and was a sales guy. And the guy, I remember story talked about, he was sitting his daughter out on a vacation, and she said, "Hey, Dad, I'll be going next week." And she said everything's all right, because she could look at his face and there was trouble. He said, "Oh yeah, you'll be fine." That night he grabbed a drink, family went to bed, he went outside in the garage, closed the garage door, got in his car and committed suicide. And Mr. Clemens, can you cue up that first video for me if you don't mind?
This is called the Tiger. We do it when we need to get our energy up. Come on, no use sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves. I will win. Why? Because I have faith, courage, enthusiasm. Good.
Anyone want to take a guess at what I shot at the club this morning? What happened? Somebody die? What's going on?
The company's consolidating divisions. Difficult decisions had to be made in areas where redundancies surfaced.
You're firing me? 3,000 jobs? They were good people, Jim.
Hell, it's a business, not a charity.
I've always told you what I thought, right or wrong, and this is wrong.
I'm late for a meeting.
Got one kid in college, another one going in the fall. I won't go back to a factory floor. I'll take an AK-47 to this place first.
Mr. Walker, can I speak here for a moment? I just got thrown off the course of the club.
You playing golf? Getting your Porsche detailed?
I need to look successful. Hi, Sally. Thanks for not returning any of my phone calls. If you do return my call, I would love to know why you fired me without any notice.
You cowardly witch. Gee, wonder why she never calls you back.
Feels good, though.
Would you do the honors?
Dear God, please help my dad find a job so he won't be unhappy all the time.
Okay.
You know, things get tough. You could always use some extra help this winter.
Easy work, huh, Bobby? Pretty much like moving cost reports from the inbox to the outbox.
I hate your brother.
We can't prove this.
I'm a 37-year-old unemployed loser.
You have Drew and Carson and me. You have me.
We could make something here.
Start out with a crazy plan.
Start slow, see if it'll grow. You in?
You should take that job. You're a terrible carpenter. Will win. Why? Because I have faith, courage, enthusiasm. I will win!
All right, sir. And we all will win. You will win. I promise you, you will win. Winning is in your hands. It's in nobody else's hands but our own. We choose to win or lose. And so since this time, I've talked to a lot of people, and you've heard me have this conversation before. And I recently talked to an individual, same conversation. Are you satisfied with your pay? I'm not. Well, then what are you going to do about it? I don't know what to do about it. I have to pay my bills. Well, if bills become the thing that we focus on, then that's all we're going to do. We have to change our perspective to think above paying my bills, surviving. I got to think about, how do I live? I want to live. I don't want to just exist. And how do we take control? How do we take, now, does that mean I have to become a business owner, or how it happens? Each of us has been given a seed of greatness, and how your seed works and manifests, I don't know. I just know you have that seed, because to him who is able to do what exceeds abundance above our imagination, according to what? The power that's already in you. So we all have that power. Now, what we do with it, do we cultivate that power? Do we do the things, do we discipline ourselves to do the things to bring that power out, so we actually fulfill the purpose in life that we create, which will be the only way we will have fulfillment in life, is to live to do the thing that the Bible says that my gift makes room for me. It gives me everything I need. It even puts me in front of great men. That's what, and I live by this book. So I talk to you about it, and because why? I believe in its principles. because I live according to those principles. And but when I have this conversation with most people, it's not the conversation that becomes the challenge. It's their responses to me. But you sound crazy. People got to pay their bills. So absolutely, I'm crazy. Think about a kid delivering sandwiches to his brothers who are hiding in the city behind a wall, behind a giant, who comes out for 40 days, day, morning and evening, and threatens them and challenges them and laughs at them and says, I don't even want to fight all of y'all. Just send me one champion, and whoever wins, that nation wins the war. And they're hiding behind the city. And this kid is delivering sandwiches that nobody thinks much of. And he comes out and says, oh, why y'all letting this giant talk all this craziness to y'all? Ain't nobody gonna do anything about it? And they say, hey, you wanna do something about it? He said, absolutely. They say, well, let us give you some equipment. Let's put you some armor on and give you a sword. Let's put you out there. He's like, man, they tried to make that work, but it wouldn't work. Why? Because it's not about how strong I am or how smart I am. It's about the heart and what I believe. And he says, hey, today this giant will fall. Who does that? Somebody that's crazy. Absolutely, I'm crazy. And it takes crazy people to do this stuff. You got to be crazy sometimes. You got to believe that. What is crazy? Crazy is believing in stuff that I don't even see yet, that I don't even know is real. That's what crazy is. And they're going to always call people who do incredible things crazy. 11 disciples standing on a boat. Only one of them can say he walked on water. Why? Because he was crazy enough to jump outside the boat. Swamp. What man looks across swamps and deserts and says, hey, I got it. Theme parks. People gonna fly from all over the world to bring their kids to play with a mouse. You think that ain't crazy? That's crazy. Great Depression. This guy decides I ain't firing nobody. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be so cool. I'm gonna keep paying my employees, and we're gonna build our own city. I'm gonna pay my employees to build their own city, Hershey, Pennsylvania, Hershey's chocolate. Or here's the guy that says, now here's a crazy, this one is nuts right here. They call him the father of electricity. Why? Because he's crazy enough to take a kite, some string, and a jar and go outside in an electrical storm. Or here's a good one. Young 27-year-old millionaire. He'd already become a millionaire once, and he was a billionaire by 40. And instead of quitting, he decided, I'm gonna go into the aerospace industry. I've already challenged the car industry with electric cars. Now I'm gonna go and challenge the NASA. I'm gonna challenge the aerospace industry. Who does stuff like this? And think about it. Why didn't he take his millions from PayPal and just go get him a house on an island with a beautiful view and a yacht and just live the life? Why? Because I'm too crazy for that. I'm never satisfied. Comfort is the enemy of human progress. I'm not interested in any of that stuff. Let's go crazy. Let's do something, because what makes us crazy? Then people tell me all the time, you go all roads for you lead back to faith. They absolutely do. Because faith is a belief that is so strong, it convinces me that I cannot fail. And it convicts me that success is imminent. That's all it is. That's all it is. I cannot fail. Me, I'm gonna talk. I typically won't talk about me much, but I'm willing to try anything and test anything. Why? Because I don't believe I can fail. I don't believe I can lose. Even when a person looks at me and says, Dwight, but you're losing. I'm not losing in my mind. Why? Because it's all how you perceive it. You can perceive whatever. People outside of me can say and do whatever they want. It's what I decide that matters. Nothing else matters. So the question I have, you have to begin to ask, what happened to us? What happened to America and all the stuff we did? We did great things. We were innovators, man. The aerospace, first to walk on the moon and to build computers and all of the things that we did that were phenomenal. What happened? When did it go from being about, when did it become about how much money I had in my bank account, how big a house, and we forgot that it was about people. It was always about people. We built the country based on principles and things that we believe. It was never about money and houses and cars, but it was about value, who we were. And we got forgot. Now it's about me the person versus we the people. What happened to us? How did we get lost? One of the things to say about Mr. Thomas, and I will say this about him, he never got lost. Look what he's doing right now. Mr. Thomas could have focused his energies on money and things and just said, hey, I'm gonna leverage everybody to achieve my goal, but he didn't. How did we get lost? And when we begin to have the conversations about how we got lost, often we blame it on the government. We always, the working class always look to move responsibility away from themselves, but the wealthy, they take responsibility for their actions and their choices. So when you find yourself blaming, you're not thinking that because I don't need anything outside of me to control me. And so therefore, the best thing for me to do is to take responsibility for everything. And let me tell you something. I've taken money in paper bags to people to invest in their ventures and lost every dime because they didn't do right. Now, the question is, most people will say, yeah, because, he's a shyster. He was a fraud. No. He didn't pull a gun on me and tie me up to take the money. I took the money to him. So what I have to figure out is what I did wrong. I can't be thinking about what he did. Why did I get the proper paperwork put in place? Why didn't I take care of business the way I should have? That's on me. Why? Because I got to make sure I don't make this mistake again. So I got to fix it for me, and I can't be concerned about what other people do. Is it corporation? Let's have the corporate talk real quick. Are they evil? They're not. Corporations are not intrinsically evil. The capitalist system in America is based on maximizing production through leverage. That's what it does. Hires a bunch of people, you put them to work, you multiply productivity by the amount of people. And what you do is you try to pay people less money than they produce for you. It is a capitalist system. If you don't like it, don't go to work. Don't take the job. That's all you got to do. We blame them and we talk about them like they did something. They didn't make you take that job. You don't have to take it. But I have to pay bills. Oh, well then, so you're saying you're worth more, but the problem is you have to be, you're worth what you accept. And it is the bottom line. Three kind of people in a corporation: shareholders, customers, and employees. There's only those three. Shareholders, balance sheet. Customers, they produce income. The company exists because shareholders. The company continues to exist because customers. But employees, they have and please do not take this wrong, what I'm about to say. But when we have a discussion about employees, it's like deciding, should I use a Windows computer or an Apple computer? Because they're just computers and they just do a job. And so therefore, when the value that I provide to that corporation is not any different than any other person that can come and do the same job, then that's why I sit on an income statement as an expense. So most people say, well, how do I change that? Become more valuable. Well, how do I become more valuable? Find ways. Why do people go to school and become engineers or become doctors? Or why do people go to school and become accountants and CPAs? Because they want to improve the value proposition that they provide so they can demand more pay and they can move themselves away from being on an income statement and move themselves to the balance sheet. That's all. It's simple. Income statement is profit equal revenue minus expenses, period. Businesses run on these statements. A balance sheet, just like your house, is the value of your property minus the mortgage. It's assets minus liability is what the equity is in that property. These are basic equations. And this is the way, and the reason I'm having this conversation with us is because, not for us, because the fact that you're on this call, you already know this. But these are the conversations that we need to be having with the people that we're talking to. Why? Because if we don't have these conversations with these people, they will end up like the people in the video that we just saw. They will find it. And we think the 2008 crash is the last crash. It is the starting of it. It's the beginning. Technology is going to change the world. And it is people are saying Tesla is an automotive company. No, Tesla is a technology company. It is just using cars for its technology. And so while other stock companies, automotive company stocks are $20, Tesla's is $700. At some point, you got to figure out there's something different about this company. Absolutely. Disney is no longer a content or a theme park company. Disney is now driving the stock on Netflix down. Why? Because it's becoming a tech content play, a digital company. And so the world is changing. And so Disney's stock is going from being like the rest of its competitors at 20 and 30 bucks to $200+ because the world is changing. And technology is going to continue to introduce robotics and these things, which is what we want. We want to keep, this is who we are. We are always progressing and moving forward and pushing the envelope. What do you want us to do? Keep doing, putting tires manually on cars? Why? To keep jobs? No. Go reinvent yourself. Change your value proposition. That's what you, but what happens is we've become comfortable. And we're comfortable blaming corporations and big business and government for our problems and saying that we are here because of them. No, we're here because of us. And if you want to change the situation, it's on you to change it. Well, how do I know I can change it? Because to him who is able to do what exceeds abundance above what you can imagine, according to a power that is already in you, you're just choosing not to develop it. We go to sleep, we sleep all night, we rest, we relax, we're comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of human progress. I said this before, if they can define you, they can confine you. So we have 1%ers, and their systems designed for 1%ers. I promise you, how many of you know that the tax system for somebody above 5 million is different for people below 5 million? That's why Warren Buffett says he pays a percentage less in taxes than his secretary. Why? Because the code for him is different. If I can define you, I can wrap a series of systems around you. That's why middle class jobs in corporate America exist for the middle class. Those are the systems that exist for the middle class. What about the working class? Minimum wage, they call you essential workers now. You know what that translates in? Expendable. That's what it means to be called an essential worker. Because if I'm a critical worker, you can believe, if I have a patent in Microsoft or Apple, you think they're going to let me go get my groceries when they have millions of dollars depending on me? They're not. It wouldn't make any sense to. Why would you risk that kind of equity on me going to a store in a car? But when you're not providing that kind of value to that corporation, they can't have that conversation. These are the conversations we need to be having with people. We need to be talking to the girl in the grocery store or online, or however we reach and say, hey, you know why they're calling you essential? Because you're expendable. And you can take it and you can get defensive about it. Why does it need to be called a felon? Because it's the prison industrial complex. Because I can make money every time he's laying in that bed. I make money on the food I provide, the plates that I provide, the forks, the manpower there are systems wrapped around every one of these names. Got to decide which one you want to be. And by the way, you have the power to choose which one you want to be. See, the challenge we have, I said this earlier, said this before, we bought into the greatest American story ever told. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, buy your house with a white picket fence, and then retire. Translation, die, because that's what retire means. Go to sleep. And this is what we lost. It's how we got lost. We bought into a story that the people, Mr. Thomas has not bought into that story. And I'm going to say something, please don't take this wrong. I didn't finish my second year in college. I didn't. But there's a reason I didn't. I got a job working for one of the, I was blessed, and I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say I'm special or anything, because I'm not. But I was blessed. I can't say that. And I ended up working for a company that was on its upward trajectory at that time. And it changed my life. And as a result, a few years later, most of the majority of the people who work for me all had degrees. Why? I just didn't buy into the same story. I decided to write my own story. what do we do? Ms. Jocelyn Driscoll, according to Ms. Ismail, Ms. Jocelyn Driscoll has coined it, we are hope brokers. We broker hope. We've got it twisted into thinking, we hear these words and they're good words, but we got to understand, we don't really prospect, we attract. My Bible says, he says, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. I drew you to me by who I was. We don't convince people, we inspire them, we uplift them, we demonstrate and we show them through kindness and that there's a different way. So we don't have to go selling people. We don't sell. We help people see. Miss Ismail this week, we help them restore their vision. So because we become, what happened is these systems have made things simple for us and they made us comfortable. I watch toll roads. People use toll roads all the time because why? Convenient. Now, I'll use a toll road because economically it makes sense, but the truth be told, people use toll roads. We got to work on time before there was ever a toll road. So really, they found ways to make money on us by selling us convenience. But we help people to see. We don't sell. We help you see. We help them remember that there is greatness in me, and I've given my greatness up, and for comfort, which truthfully is helping somebody else achieve his greatness. Employees, if you notice, they look for a paycheck, but shareholders, they look for a percentage. They ain't looking for no paycheck. Let me give you an example. And I'm not telling you something I haven't done. So what I'm about to tell you is something I've actually done. And but even today, I would not go out on the job market. I wouldn't go. But it's because of experiences I've had. Whatever company or thing I wanted to do, I call those people up and say, hey, I need to sit down and talk to you. Or if I could figure out how to do it before I ever talk to them, I just go do it. If I talked to a company and they had a need, I wouldn't go get in line with 10, 15, 20 other people and try to interview and try to convince those people. I just go do it. And once I did it, they'd either and trust. How does the 15, 20 people sitting in the lobby compete with a guy that's already done the job? How do you do that? How do you compete with that guy? You can't. So now I've completely changed the equation in my favor. Now they got to decide, how do we lock this guy down and keep this guy from going and doing it for our competitors? Now we have a balanced transaction. Now both of us are bringing value. But when a corporation or an employer can walk to the table and say, hey, I'm the only one that's bringing value right now, so I'm only willing to pay you this for this. And if you don't answer me really quick, I'm going to pay you less than that. No, you're not going to pay me anything. I'm going to pay you. I'm only going to ask you for 10 or 15%. And you got 10 minutes to take this deal. Because if you don't take it in the next 10 minutes, two things are going to happen. I'm going to be going to your competitor. You're going to call me back to renegotiate, and it's going to be 25%. So now we have a balanced conversation. And believe you me, as I said earlier, we all have the power to do this. The businesses and the companies and the people and their ideas are not the only part of the transaction that are valuable. You are valuable. I think what happens is often we find ourselves in the places that are not our gift. Our gifts make room for us. Matter of fact, when you operate in your gift, you never work a day in your life. Larry Raskin, one of my favorite presentations, Larry Raskin says, network marketing is the last bastion of free enterprise. And he's absolutely right. Network marketing as an industry is, and everything I just talked about, it turns it on its side. But it's not just network marketing. There's a specific reason I picked ACN. ACN takes the very corporations that leverage us and allows us to leverage them. Now, I want you to think about that. We leverage the corporations that leverage people. You got to think about that. It reverses the equation in our favor. So these corporations that hire people and put them to work, ACN gives us the opportunity to then reverse that. We leverage Verizon, Sprint, Zoom Energy, all these companies, and we get to leverage them and get paid for what they do. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up. Mr. Clemens got one last video to play for us. Let's go crazy, guys.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Mr. Thomas, it's all yours.